Don't you hate it when this happens? You're smoking, you're drinking, relaxing on your destroyed BNP, you know, every Tuesday. Not a care in the world, but then suddenly your drunk friend decides to drive. Drunk. He forgets to rotate his turret, and it knocks you and all of your bodies off your destroyed BNP. I hate when it happens. Ugh. Ruins my day. Hashtag Russian mobilized moments. This is the military map, my friends. Russians have renewed their assaults on 2 key points around Bakhmut and Vuhledar. If you like the videos I make and the Ukrainian military updates, then please subscribe to the channel. Or if you want to support the channel, the fastest way to do it is through Patreon. Link is in the description below. At the end of the video, I'll be butchering some Patreon names for you. So let's zoom in. This is Vuhledar right here, and Russians have been pushing to take this city for the last few days. The important information here is that they are not only pushing with mobilized troops, they're also using their paratroopers or desantniks, which are Russian semi-elite forces, the last ones they have left, and Ukrainians have said that they know how to fight. They feel it on the battlefield. These clips you see right now come from Vuhledar, this city. Russians have taken Mikilsk and Pavlivka, the surrounding cities, to Vuhledar, but they've not been able to cross into Vuhledar. Ukraine has been sending their reserves to bolster up the defense of this city. Russia recently assaulted Vuhledar on 2 sides, sending in mobilized and paratroopers at the same time with armor. They also used air force and artillery to soften up Ukrainian defenses, but they weren't able to push through Ukrainian lines, and they carried huge losses. We're talking about close to 900 troops per day, more than 1 battalion tactical group per day. Ukrainians have said that the Russian paratroopers are very much different than Wagnerite prisoners because they are almost elite forces and they have a will to live. Yes, they do fight better, but they don't storm into their deaths. If necessary, they retreat, which makes it a bit easier for Ukrainians to defend. I'm not saying it is easy, I'm saying it's a different opponent. Right now, let's zoom into Bakhmut, and as you can see, it is almost surrounded from 2 sides. Russian goal is to cut Bakhmut's connection to the rest of Ukraine to take these roads leading out of Bakhmut. We have 4 roads leading out of Bakhmut. First road, second road, third road, and the 4th road. But as you can see, further away, these 2 roads connect up to 1 road. So basically, Russia wants these 2 roads on the edge of the city are very important. Russia wants to control these points. If they control it, they control the logistics coming and going from Bakhmut, making it very difficult for Ukrainians to defend. So you don't really have to storm the outskirts of Bakhmut. You have to try to take the logistical roads away from Bakhmut. Ukrainians will have to pull out. Time will tell if they're able to do it. As we can see, Russians have these 2 salients around Bakhmut. They have been moving very slowly forward, but Ukraine has been deploying a huge amount of reserves into Bakhmut to hold this ground. We have 2 videos today coming from Bakhmut, straight from the front. Let's watch them. This first one comes straight from the front, from a foxhole. A Ukrainian soldier is speaking English for us. No subtitles needed.
Hey, Voices for Ukraine. So again, I'm on the front line near Bakhmut. Crazy situation because I'm sitting in trench. This is my AK and this is my sniper rifle. So what can I say? We are in position. It's only few of us sitting here in the field, and enemies there.
As you can see, enemies there, right? It's a field. To come and take this foxhole, you have to cross the field with infantry or with armor. Ukraine has anti-armor capabilities in these foxholes, actually. It doesn't matter that he doesn't show it. Crossing this field, which is soft also. Don't let yourself to be fooled by the snow. The ground underneath is very soft and muddy. Armor cannot cross this field, and infantry will not. It is difficult to take these positions for Russians.
And there. And they are also
surrounded almost, as you can see.
So they almost surrender us. They almost around us, and we are in situation when they can approach to our position from any direction. In this situation, maybe your mood can be not so happy and not so high. But for now it's pretty warm weather, and I bring to position delicious coffee, and I'm still alive, so Life is really amazing, guys. Life is really amazing.
I'm honestly glad he ended with such a happy note, because this is important. If we see his situation surrounded by three sides, it seems kind of hopeless, but it is not. It is incredibly difficult to storm these foxholes over barren fields. You have no protection. Ukrainian troops know you're coming, so the next video is straight from the trenches, battle situation. Ukrainian troops are clearing that trench line 10 meters at the time, and we see the nerve-wracking process of it. It's slow and it's incredibly scary to open up the corners. There will be no shooting, no death, no blood, no killing in this video, but we still see the process. So he opened up his Kalashnikov, as you can see. These troops, you can say they're very used to combat, they're accustomed to it. If they're not fighting, they're leisurely laying on the ground, they're not panicking, they're not even nervous, as you can see, or not showing it at least. It means they have probably been in this situation, in these trenches for, I would say, months. It takes time to become like that. This very process, opening up the corners of the trench lines, yes, you can open up every corner with a grenade, but that is a waste. You might not need it, and it's a waste of grenades. So you just open it up with a weapon, and if there is an enemy, you gotta be ready to shoot. And if there's a friendly, you gotta be ready not to shoot. That means you have an insane control over this finger right here. And it's an incredibly nerve-wracking process. But as much as I can tell, these guys are professional at it. Yep, he opened with a grenade, and it still doesn't guarantee that there will be nobody. In this case, there wasn't anybody. We can hear the enemy's Kalashnikov fire. That's a drone. I'm assuming this drone is friendly. If you don't want to go through this process, it's very dangerous. Also, you can just put a drone up and you see all the trench lines, so they can actually open up the trenches using a drone. 21st century, right? It is insane. You just look, there's somebody, then you know if to throw a grenade or how to approach these 10 meters of the trench. Loving the single shots. They see somebody.
Може. Оставить на лучшее время. Є гранати. Нам дрончик показує, де він.
Quite an incredible video. You can hear the Russian artillery banging away all the time. They're kind of used to it, but it's a lucky shot. If Russian artillery lands into the trench, they're gone. Western media and Western military bloggers and Russian military bloggers, they're talking about this big Russian offensive that we are waiting for. Here's my take on it. I think it's an info op. A huge offensive means gathering armor and infantry at this one area to push from this one area. United States satellite photos don't show any of this. Every week, a few thousand Russian mobilized troops finish their training to be sent to the front, and we don't see these troops being sent to reserves or a single gathering area for this huge assault. They're being sent to all areas of the front to bolster it and immediately be fed into the meat grinder, which tells us that Russia doesn't actually have the capabilities for this huge assault we are waiting for. I think the West is projecting their own capabilities to Russia. All this big assault is coming any moment. I don't think it is. Russia is assaulting locally, Vuhledar, Bakhmut, but this one grand big assault that we saw to Kiev or that we saw to Kharkiv, my take is Russia doesn't have the capability. And the ground is soft also, they cannot do it physically. It is not possible because armored support will get stuck in the mud. So that's my take. I might be proven wrong in a week, but this is what I think right now. Here is a range of ground-launched small diameter bomb, 150 kilometers. Of course, these missiles would be launched 10-20 kilometers back from the front, so you can deduct that from the range. The area covers almost the entirety of Russian-occupied Ukraine. Why is this important? Because the United States is preparing these weapons to be shipped to Ukraine as we speak. This changes a lot on the battlefield. When HIMARS arrived, they destroyed or pushed back Russian logistics, warehouses, ammunition dumps 50 kilometers from the front. This weapon will push these logistical points back 150 kilometers. And we know that Russian logistics only works when they have railways. They're horrible with trucks. If this weapon will do work for a month, I think this will decrease Russian artillery efficiency or fire efficiency about 50%, meaning one of the most effective Russian military branches will be knocked out. They will not have enough artillery munitions to shoot with their artillery doctrine, which needs a lot of munitions. HIMARS was a game changer. If they send enough of these GLSDB, I think these will be a game changer again. Let's talk about Russian losses, which have been incredibly high during the last week. 1st of February 2023, we see that this page estimates about 1/3 wounded troops to every killed troop. So we have 128,420 Kia. And for that, we have 385,260 wounded in action. And prisoners of war, 1,000 a day. This is all an estimate. The troop numbers you see, Ukrainian Ministry of Defense pushes forward, this is an estimate. But if we look at statistics of previous wars in history, this seems pretty close to the truth. That means they're not losing one battalion tactical group per day. This is killed in action. If we add wounded to it, we get 3,680 taken out of action per day in the 1st of February, 31st of January, 3,400 taken out of action, and this includes prisoners of war. They don't really talk about losses in these terms, they only talk about Kiev, but we have to talk about the wounded and the ones that surrender. According to this page, I'm not saying this is truth or false, I'm saying this is the estimate that the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense gives us as of Russian losses. It is 57% of the Russian armed forces are taken out of action. They're not all killed, they're taken out of action. And they estimate Russian armed forces to be 900,000. And the 190,000 intended for invasion have all been taken out of action, 100% of those. Russia has already replaced all of these losses into Ukraine, but these 190,000 were the best of the best that Russia ever had. So everything replaced will be a lot worse, with 3 weeks training, 4 weeks training perhaps. Why we're seeing such high tank losses and artillery losses is because of the renewed assault on Vuhledar and Bakhmut. They're using tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, they're getting stuck and they're losing them. I'm having the most hard time to believe these last two numbers, aircraft and helicopters. The rest of it I can believe, honestly. I think this number is too high. I don't think Russia has lost 284 helicopters, and I don't think Russia has lost 294 aircraft. If you don't agree with me, put it in the comments, and I do read your comments, and if you have a valid argument, I'll take it into consideration. And ships and boats might be pretty accurate, because I think they count very small boats also. But even if we're talking about only the personnel, this number is incredibly high. German Patriot batteries have now arrived in Zamość, Poland. I'm sorry about the pronunciation of the town, I have no idea how to say it, so I'm saying Zamość. These Patriot batteries will protect NATO's eastern flank, and I think they'll do it very effectively. We see the new Iron Curtain forming already. Nothing will come through this. A total of 3 Patriot batteries will be handed over to the Polish military to prevent any stray missiles from Russia or from Ukraine. They will be equipped with more than 10 elements, including radars, guiding units, and launchers that can hold up to 16 missiles each. German Colonel Igor Girkin Sievers has said, one of the reasons why Germany will now support NATO's eastern flank in Poland with Patriots is certainly because we saw how quickly the conflict could spill into NATO countries. Now, something different for you. In this clip we see Ukrainian forces transporting a Soviet-made howitzer with a helicopter. This is certainly the fastest way to transport these howitzers if they can afford it. Ukraine is definitely lacking helicopters and they're already being overused. So if they can afford this fast way of transportation, it is the quickest, most effective way. Now I have drone footage for you, and I know you've been yearning for it since the summer, and I cannot use most of the drone footage out there because my channel will get demonetized, but this one is good, I promise you. This is a Russian boat around Kherson. It is a reinforced boat and it's probably transporting ammunition or rations, food rations. It serves a logistical purpose for the Russian units. Ukrainians want to take it out with a drone. They drop several munitions on it, nothing happens, but in the end we see that it bursts into flames. And we talked about Russian losses before, boats and ships. I think this counts as a loss, so this is how they got 18 boats and ships gone, because they count these boats also. That's what I think, at least. It's a small boat, but it's death through 1,000 cuts. President Biden says a straight no to sending F-16s to Ukraine.
Will the United States provide F-16s to Ukraine?
No.
Here's my take on it. Ukraine needs tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and planes and choppers, but they don't specifically need Western tanks or planes or choppers. They just need planes or choppers or tanks, and MiGs are perfect. T-72s are perfect if they get them. If European countries have T-72s or MiGs left, these are much more necessary for Ukraine right now as we speak than F-16 Abrams or Leopards, because all of these new tech, they need insane logistical networks. Ukrainian crews need to be trained to use them. It takes 2 to 3 months for tanks to be used on the battlefield. If you send T-72s, they can already be used, and they are effective on the battlefield. Not much less effective than a Leopard. And no huge new logistical issues need to be solved if you send MiGs or T-72s. Ukrainians know how to fix them, Ukrainians know how to operate them, they have more spare parts. No training necessary. I'm all for sending Western high-tech weaponry to Ukraine, but I'm saying that it's not a wonder weapon. The logistical issues that come with sending these weapons are incredibly huge. They don't talk about it enough. So if President Biden says no to F-16s, I think every country needs to look over their MiG stashes. If they can send any, that would be a huge help to Ukraine right now. Let's watch the next video. Putin will be in it listening to news he does not like, and this is why it's rare.
Вопросами обеспеченности мобилизованных военнослужащих бронежилетами и другим обмундированием. Большинство проблем уже решены. Сейчас мы контролируем поставки мобилизованным военнослужащим зимнего форменного обмундирования, а также образованием соответствующих складов и их сохранности. Усилиями надзора возвращено домой свыше 9 тысяч граждан, которые были незаконно мобилизованы, в том числе те, которые по состоянию своего здоровья никоим образом не должны были быть мобилизованы.
Russian mobilization process was a huge failure. They didn't have digitalized databases, they mobilized elderly, and in some cases even women got the mobilization letter. This guy says to Putin that mobilization had huge issues and up to 9,000 troops were mobilized illegal and they were sent home. He says this to Putin. Putin is known to not like bad news, and if you are in Putin's inner circle, you need to be able to sugarcoat everything to him, otherwise you will not survive. And this guy gives such news to Putin, which means he will not last on his post, or the situation is so bad he has no options but to give this news to him.
Владимир Владимирович, мобилизация давно не проводилась. Выявила массу существенных проблем, что стало для многих уроком. Заставило пересмотреть подходы в организации воинского учета, формированию соответствующих баз данных военнослужащих. К сожалению, были проблемы и связанные с выплатами военнослужащим положенного им денежного содержания.
He says to Putin that there were issues paying out the salaries to the mobilized. This man is walking on thin ice. Giving such news to Putin is basically making sure that you will not be promoted. Putin does not like the truth tellers. He likes his illusions. He likes people who support his illusions. This guy is spitting facts straight to the president's face. He says there were huge issues with dealing with the mobilization, the databases had errors in it, and Putin's face is of course priceless. That's the face I make when I want to show that I don't care, but actually I care a lot. Speaking about the unpleasant truth about the Russian situation in Ukraine, I will now show you a man I've avoided on this channel, the war criminal terrorist Igor Girkin. He should be tried in Hague.
На 12-й месяц войны мы дальше от победы над Украиной, чем в первый месяц. Причем намного дальше. И удастся ли взять Украину на измор раньше, чем мы сами передохнем? Ну, можно, конечно, в это верить. Можно даже готовиться, там, условно говоря, к многолетней войне. В Первую мировую тоже всем казалось, что война будет пусть долгой, но Россия не может в ней не победить. Россия рухнула за год до конца войны общего. Рухнула с огромным треском, с огромными жертвами, с дикими просто жертвами. Так рухнуло, что по многим показателям только после Второй мировой войны мы достигли промышленных показателей промышленности Российской империи. Не говоря уж о потерях в людях.
In the last 12 months of war, Russia has been further away from victory than it was in the first month of war. And I do agree with it. Every decision Putin has made, he has taken more control over this war, personally commanding some forces, some units, making some decisions by having no experience on the battlefield and no education about it. So he has hampered the Russian war effort a lot in the last 12 months. The shipment containing more than 60 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles left the shores of North Charleston, South Carolina, last week. This shipment will be transported to Ukraine. It is part of the largest USA pledged aid to Ukraine as of yet. This package was declared in mid-January 2023. It also includes these 150-kilometer range ground-launched small diameter bombs and Striker armored personnel carriers. This package has a lot that Ukraine needs. This is a Humvee with a Stinger mounted on top of it. We can see these 12 marks drawn on the board. That means they have taken down 12 air targets. Such mobile systems are part of the Kievian air defense, and they are the reason why very few missiles and drones actually connect to Kiev. Most of them are shot down. Kievian airspace is multi-layered. If something gets through, it is because Russia shoots out a lot of missiles at the same time and they use drones at the same time. Unfortunately, not all Ukrainian cities and not most of Ukrainian cities don't have these Humvee crews. They're very mobile. They can be moved to wherever it is necessary within minutes, which makes them incredibly effective. General Atomics is offering to sell 2 Reaper drones to Ukraine for $1 each. But the deal would also require Ukraine to spend about $10 million to prepare and ship the Reapers to Ukraine, and about $8 million to maintain these drones per year. Of course, the White House would have to give green light for sending these drones to Ukraine, and knowing that they are one of the most effective United States drones for recon and they carry heavy missiles, I don't think the White House wants to give the green light for it. Taiwan donates $1 million to Ukraine for power generators so Ukrainians wouldn't freeze. China, Beijing immediately sends a threatening letter to Ukraine, stating they should not accept the aid. Interesting power struggle plays out here. If Taiwan connects to any country and has shipping deals, China immediately reacts. This way China is pulled into this conflict. My friends, I will now read you 5 Patreon names and I'll butcher their names with my Estonian pronunciation. If you want your name to be butchered, become a Patreon, tier 10 or above. We have Veka ND Fun. We have Teijot Pekorak, Juha Vehnia, Tendon. Tendon, you are the biggest patron as of now. Thank you so much for your support. And Scott Spenker. Thank you to these patrons. Patreon link is in the description below. I appreciate you. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And until my next video, Slava